good afternoon. Today is Saturday, July 21st, and we're going to do our weekly update. I didn't do one last week, and you know what? When I was in there today, I was going to ask for last week's booklet, and I forgot to ask for it, because they will give them to you if you've missed a meeting. But today's it's about being sugar savvy, and we know sugar is in just about everything we eat, just about everything. I've been on vacation. The last weigh-in I had was on June 30th, and on June 30th I weighed 232.5, and I had lost 71.7. If you followed my vacation videos, you saw that I was very much on track. I tracked everything I ate. I was very diligent about how I stayed on my program, and I was just so hopeful that I would lose 3.3 so I could get my 75-pound charm. It didn't happen. But you know what? I'm not discouraged. I did lose 2.2, which brings me down to 230.3. I'm so close to those 20s. We know how I like to get into the next set of numbers. But I have a total loss of 73.9. But look, I got another star and a star. That's my goal, is to fill the book up these 4 weigh-ins with just stars, with a loss each week. And I'm going to do it. I really am. To say that if I was to say I wasn't disappointed that I didn't get my 75 pounds, that I didn't lose my 3.3, I'd be lying. I was really hoping I would get my 3.3, and I really, truly thought that I did. I kind of felt like I lost at least 4 pounds. I really did. I feel it in my body. I feel it in everything about me, and I was sugar savvy the whole time. I really was. I was paying attention. The only thing I had the first week of my vacation that was a little bit off my program was I had an ice cream cone, which was very good. I had a waffle cone, and I enjoyed every bite of it, and I felt no guilt. And then last week when I was in Minnesota, we went out to eat twice, and then we had a pizza carried in one day. But, you know, I went a little off track. I did lose the 2.2, which is good, and I just think that your body adjusts to different things at different times, and I was eating at different times than I normally eat. I was eating foods different than I normally eat, and but the whole time I was sugar savvy. So at the meeting today, obviously we talked about sugar, and if you're old enough to remember, who remembers this song? Oh, sugar, 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 you are my candy girl, and you got me wanting more. And that's a terrible song rendition. I realize how bad that sounds. Where's Gina Pearson when I can use her? She should have been sitting right here, and she could have sang that for you, and it would have sounded so much better. But you know the song, sugar, sugar, honey, honey. You are my candy girl, and you got me wanting more. And that's just what sugar does to you. I don't know if it's true of you, but it's true of me. If I eat something with sugar, added sugar, or any kind of sugar in it, it makes me crave more sugar, and it doesn't really, it satisfies you for that quick hot moment, but then, you know, it doesn't. It's like always wanting to be filled. That needs to be filled with the sugar. And especially this time of year, you drink more alcohol, you drink more beer, margarita. Well, you drink margaritas all year round, I know, but you go into barbecues, and the barbecue sauce, you know, has the sugar in it. And you're going to wedding showers, and they always have those little mints and little M&Ms and little candies on the thing for you to munch on. You have to have cake, because you have a shower cake, you have a wedding cake when you go to a wedding. So summer is really harder. I know they always say that the hardest time is between Thanksgiving and Christmas, but sometimes I think the time between Memorial Day and Labor Day is the hardest, because you have so much going on. Barbecues, graduations, showers, picnics, concerts, music in the park, vacations. You're just so tempted, and it's so easy, especially when you're on vacation, not to follow your program. I packed for both trips. I packed for when I went to Lexington for the first week and stayed on track, and I packed to do the best to my ability when we went to Minnesota. And at all times, I tried to avoid the sugar, because it's not really your enemy, but if you abuse it, it's your enemy. As is true of anything in life, if you abuse it, it's going to be your enemy. What you want to do, remember that is when you're in control, you're better with your planning. I was in control of my eating for the 2 weeks, and so I was better with my planning of it. The things I did different while I was on vacation was that I didn't have my berries, which is sugar, which is sugar, but it was like I needed that sugar and I didn't have it. And it's not that I couldn't have gone and got the berries and stuff. I just didn't work it in. I was kind of tired of eggs, so I didn't have any eggs. And I usually have an egg every day. I usually eat my breakfast at 1. I was eating my breakfast at 9. I usually eat my dinner at 7. We were eating our dinner around 6. It was just a whole component of things. I find that too when I travel, my body readjusts. I don't know why. I have different issues, if you know what I mean. Bathroom. But, and it makes a difference. But through the whole thing is, you have to remember the sugar in everything that you're eating. So here's the scoop on sugar. And what they tell you is sugar, simply put, is a carbohydrate that can occur naturally in foods and beverages, but it can also be added to them. And some zero-point foods contain naturally occurring sugars, such as non-fat yogurt, fruits, vegetables. And they're 0 points because, as science puts it, they form the foundation of healthy eating patterns. I know bananas and berries are loaded with sugar, but it's a better sugar than a candy bar or a donut or a piece of cake or a piece of pie. Produce contains more potassium, fiber, folic acid, and vitamins A and C. And if you have non-fat yogurt, it has calcium, vitamin D, potassium, and protein. But if you think about it, the added sugars found in soft drinks, juices, cookies, and so on, they don't give you any essential nutrients or things that you need in your thing. So you got to be wise about your eating. You got to be very mindful. And also, if you have a higher sugar intake, it is linked to increased risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and even cavities in your teeth. And what you have to look out for is the sugars, because they're also branded as other stuff. If you can't pronounce it, do you really want it in your body? And a lot of that stuff is just completely added stuff. It's put in a lot of the products to make it taste sweeter. So even if you're having a sugar-free item, you really want to check to see what they're replacing the sugar with, because it's still going to be, it could be a man-made sugar, it could be some kind of fake sugar. Sometimes you're better off eating the actual sugar product than the sugar-free, is what they're telling you. And they also told you that sugar is the smallest type of carbohydrates, and it's because it's easily digested by your body. It provides energy, and your body breaks down natural sugar and it turns it into glucose, and that's the primary source for your body's nutrients. Some of the other sugars, they're a little harder to break down. You know, the fake sugars, they're harder for your body to break down. And there's natural sugar in a lot of things. There's in dairy, in your fruits, in your vegetables. I know that everybody tells me that my bananas are high in sugar, and I realize that, but it's a healthier sugar than a candy bar. I keep thinking of that. And a lot of times, sugar leads to so many health risks. It obviously leads to diabetes, which surprised me because it can overload and damage your liver. And I know your liver can repair itself, but do you really want to take the chance that you're going to damage it beyond repair? Because that can happen. You can damage it beyond that. And the healthy guidelines say that the average American, because we're fat, we are, I know that's sad to say, but we're fat. We usually have 270 calories daily in added sugars, which adds up to 67.5 grams. And 1 gram of sugar is just 4 calories. So, I mean, you just don't want it. The American Heart Association recommends that a woman get only 24 grams. So you figure we're averaging 67.5, but the Heart Association is recommending only 24.5. Or not even 24.5, just 24. And men they're telling you 35. So that just tells you that we're kind of overdosing on the sugar. What you want to do to kind of pull your sugar in is to decrease your daily intake. Don't do it all at once. Anything that you do is like an all or nothing thing is not going to work. All or nothing, in my case, this never works. I have to gradually wean myself off of stuff. I always when I went to a restaurant, I always got a Coke. I always got a Coke. And I'd always get like a refill, at least one refill, and then sometimes just a half a refill. So I was drinking like 2.5 glasses of Coke. Slowly I worked myself back that I don't need that extra half. I'm only going to have then I got to the 1. And then from the 1, I went to extra ice in my drink because then it wasn't as much. And then from there I've gone to iced tea. And now when I go out to order, I never order pop. I always order tea. I always order iced tea. And I drink it black. I don't drink a sweet tea. So I'm not getting the sugar that way either. You always have to remember that progress, not perfection, is what you need to do. I always bring things back to religion, but I always say God only made one perfect child, and that was a pretty good child. So he doesn't expect perfection from everybody. He likes us to do our best, and that's all we can ask for, is to do your best. If you're really doing your very best and doing the best you can, you should be proud with that. You know whether or not you're really doing your very best. You know, I'm not saying that you're not going to, be led into temptation, because we're human. You know, we're tempted by those. Just the sight or the smell of something that looks and smells good, we're going to want to taste it. We're going to want to try it. And we just have to realize that we can't go crazy. We have to limit what we take in. Try to look for ways that you can lower your sugar versions of your favorite foods. A lot of times, maybe you're used to like having apple pie with a scoop of ice cream on top. Gradually work yourself away from that. Have the apple pie, not the ice cream. And then half the piece of apple pie, and then maybe just a taste of the apple pie. Just slowly work your way back. Don't try to do it all at once, because if you try to do anything all at once, if you're like me, you're going to fail. And the Think Again page tells us to, the unhelpful thought is, I have to avoid sugar completely. I am addicted to it. But the helpful thought is, I'm not really addicted to sugar. If I were, I'd have to cut it out entirely, which means my fruits, my vegetables. I just have a habit of eating it, and I have to learn how to manage it. Good thought. The unhelpful thought is, all sugar is bad for me. But the helpful thought is, all sugar isn't bad for me. In fact, some of it's essential for my body's energy requirements. I just need to find a balance with my overall eating by managing how much sugar I eat. And that just makes perfect sense. This article is about a diabetic, and she has type 1 diabetes, and so she has to be aware of what food she has with sugar in it. She loves pears, peaches, watermelons, and strawberries. She calls them dessert fruits, but from them she switched to sugar-free versions of her jellies, syrup, puddings, and candies. Also, she balances her meals in between so that she doesn't have the sugar, excuse me, the sugar in the problem, like in between meals, and that her blood sugar stays pretty much normal. That's what she does. And I'm very fortunate because we have a history of diabetes in my family, and I don't want to do that because I saw the damage it did to my mother, not my father, but my mother. She lost her vision. It was a funny thing too, is because my mother never really was a sweet eater until they told her she couldn't have sweets, and then she went crazy. It's just odd. I'm not a big fan of plums, but this is from a plum crostetta, I guess. You can try it and see if you like it. Try it. You'll like it, like Mikey said on the Life cereal. But anyway, we just want to remember to be sugar savvy. Sugar is everywhere. You put it in your coffee, you put it in your tea, you put it over your cereal. It's in your foods. You can't avoid it. You really can't avoid it. But, sugar's been around since the beginning of time. And it really wasn't until we started processing and making our own fake sugars that we've really come into the major problems. And I'm saying a lot in this video, and I apologize. But I really do feel that this next weigh-in, my body's going to be readjusted. I'm going to go back to my way of eating. I'm going to be fine with it, and I think I'm going to lose what I need to lose, which I think is 1.1. And let me check to make sure. I think, yep, 1.1. All I have to lose is 1.1, and I know I'm going to do it next week, and I'm going to get my 75-pound charm next week. I'm not discouraged, disappointed. Let's be honest, I'm a little disappointed, but I'm not discouraged. And if I had to change anything, I wouldn't change anything. I liked what I did. I was comfortable with what I did. I never felt like a martyr. I never felt deprived. I proved to myself that I could go on vacation and it wasn't all revolved around food. And I would do it again. And even knowing that I didn't lose my 3.3, I would have done it again. I don't have a doubt. So please subscribe if you're new to my channel, and I will see you on my daily vlog. See you next week.